A very warm welcome from me. My name is Warwick Lydiate. I'm here once again at the Sangha house presenting another video on the Enneagram. The Enneagram is this Andy, my friend Andy, who's just he's filming these, and he's the owner of the Sangha house. He's just come out with the most marvellous phrase about the Enneagram. He's called it this map of the human universe, and I just love that. That's what this is, a map of the human universe. The Enneagram, as we know, if you've been following this little series, is a sequence of 9 personality types based around the circle. Going around the circle, point 1, the reformer, that's the personality, the collection of habits and traits and patterns of thought and behaviour. That's what we call the reformer. Type 2, the helper. Type 3, the achiever, down here. Type 4, the romantic. Type 5, over here, the observer. Type 6, the curious one with the double-barreled name, the loyal skeptic. Type 7, the adventurer. Type 8, the asserter. And today, in our little session now, we're going to be looking in more detail at type 9, the peacemaker. I want to explain that normally when I teach the Enneagram with a live audience, as it were, not that you're not live looking on, that you are, but when I teach it with an audience that's actually present in the room, I use this diagram. We've got it up on the wall here, this piece of cloth with the Enneagram diagram on it. I use this as a mat on the floor. And I get people to kind of sit round it, or even sometimes walk around it. And occasionally, some who are very sensitive will pick up energy and kind of almost sit in the right places where they feel comfortable, where they feel at home. It's not very possible to do that at the moment. One thing I want to say is that when you get to point 9, the peacemaker at the top, when the diagram is on the floor and you stand on that point, it is the only point on the Enneagram where the diagram is symmetrical. Nowhere else is it symmetrical. That's the only place that looks like this. And this is kind of the hope of the 9, the peacemaker. The 9 wants the world to be peaceful, harmonious, in balance, everybody in balance with each other and themselves in balance with everybody else. It's the place of harmony and symmetry. However, as we know, the reality is very different. That is not the condition of the world. If you ask the type 1, just next door, the type 1 will say, oh no, I want the world to be symmetrical too, but it's not. And therefore it's one of my roles to help put it right and to make it symmetrical. The 9's great wish is that it is symmetrical. My the philosopher I tend to go to on a lot of things, Alan Watts, says this: we have problems because we try to straighten a wiggly world. And that, I think, is what maybe all of the types to some degree, but it's what the 9 wants to see. It wants to see a straight world that's nice and easygoing and balanced and harmonious. I was once told that ACAS, that it's the Advisory, Conciliation and Arbitration Service. The service that kind of brings together warring factions of governments and trade unions and businesses to try to hammer out deals with pay deals or strike deals or work conditions, those sorts of things. ACAS. I was once told that it's populated by 9s. everybody's view is valid. They want to hear from every side. And I have this kind of picture, which is possibly half right, of the 9 going from one room to another, hearing this viewpoint, that view, and trying gradually to steer these opposing viewpoints and bring them together. The quest for the 9, the search for the 9, as well as the hope of the type 9, is peace. And their buzzword might be chill. Chillax, relax. You can slightly contrast the 9 with type 7. Type 7s try to fix a time every day, to plan a time for an activity that's fun. The 9 tries to plan an activity that's peaceful. They try to make time to create a space for themselves where nothing's going on, nothing's happening. They can have a sleep if necessary and just chill out. They need to schedule that in, to build that into the course of the day. I've said that the Enneagram does not work that well with children. That's because children are not set, they're not fixed in their patterns, not really till late teens, sometimes even early 20s. But some folk think of, the kind of person, the young person that's growing up, who will eventually inhabit the type 9 patterns. One of the messages that starts to be reinforced in a young age is, the world is more important than me. The rest of the world is more important than me and requires me to join in. And the 9 tends to feel that everyone else's viewpoint is actually more important than theirs. As I said, they like to feel in harmony with the environment. That's the natural environment. 9s often feel very at home in the natural world, the world of nature. But they like to feel at home in the home and in the workplace as well. They like to feel in harmony with all of those situations. And therefore they like relationships to be supportive, like people to support them. They like to feel that they are supporting others. Very like the 2 of the types that often confused with each other, get confused with each other, the 2s and the 9s. The habits and the patterns are very similar, but as I've explained, the Enneagram sets out our motivations. It pinpoints what drives us and what motivates us. And the type 2 and the type 9 are motivated by very different things. The 2 likes this, to feel that they're helping and supporting, and they want to receive back the affirmation and love and support of the other person. The 9 is simply doing the nice things for other people, in order to feel safe and secure and at peace in the world. 9s generally are very hard-working people, but they can procrastinate. I'm going to pick up that word at the end when we look at kind of a meaning and definition of things. 9s can kind of put things off and procrastinate. This happens particularly when they're either under pressure, they feel pressured by work or feel pressured by circumstances, and particularly pressured by another person. They will dig heels in and procrastinate, and I'm not doing that kind of feel, or I'll do that. No, it's not, I'm not doing that. I'll do that when I'm ready. That's the kind of feeling that being pushed and pressured engenders in the 9. 9s can find it hard to make choices, particularly when others are around. They would prefer others to make the decisions. They want that person. Oh, no, it's not for me. I'd rather you decide where we go or what we do. You make that decision. They also like structure and routine. There are two issues for type 9s. And firstly, that 9s, it's not really because they're at the top of the Enneagram, but they like to plug into all of the other types. So if you find it difficult, actually, in the fullness of time, if you've looked at all the Enneagram types and you still find it difficult to find your type, it may be you're a 9. Because you feel this one and you feel this one, a little bit of this one and this one. In general, types tend to stand out, but for the 9, it's much harder to pinpoint for themselves exactly how they feel. You see a bit of yourself in others, or really you don't see yourself at all. You just pick up the energy of the others. The other issue for the 9, as we explained, there are 3 centres. The 8, 9, 1 pick up the energy of the body types, specifically the gut. And there's a sort of let's do it and do it now kind of energy about those. The 2, 3 and 4 heart types, and those, as we've seen, are about connecting to the other person. 5, 6 and 7 are head types, tendency to overthink. So if the 2, 3 and 4, they like to connect with others, this kind of issue that they have to face sometimes is image. They want to be seen to be doing good, want to be seen to be loving and kind or achieving. The 5, 6 and 7, the tendency in the head space maybe to overthink. And in the 8, 9, 1, the tendency is towards anger. And as we've seen, the 3, 6, 9 triangle, the kind of feeling that each of those have is to push down those unwelcome emotions. So the 9 will try to suppress that anger. They know that it's there. They get angry sometimes that they can't make a decision, that other people are making the decisions for them. So 9s push down this sense of anger. They push it down and try to suppress it, because after all, they are the peacemakers. They're the ones who are supposed to be getting people together. They're the ones who are trying to bring harmony into a disordered world. And they push this anger down to try and avoid conflict. Well, we know that pushing things down never really works. And at some point, for 9s, it can bubble up, and the anger can bubble up quite suddenly and out of the blue, to the extent that some people might think, my goodness, I didn't know you felt like this, I didn't know you had this. And that's possibly because the 9 has gone along with everybody else, and they've gone along with this person, and they've done what that person says, and eventually they think, what do I want to do? And that doesn't necessarily come out peacefully. It comes out in a big rush and a fit of, shall we call it peak or real anger. It can look quite angry, but it never lasts. It usually is over quite quickly. So they'll have a little eruption and then it all subsides down and they go back to being peacemakers again. So that's something to be aware of, that kind of bubbling up. I want to go back to this word procrastination. And as you know, at the end of each of these, I bring in a little quote from David White's marvellous book, Consolations. And today I've picked up a word that he describes, procrastination. And normally you'd think of procrastination as not a good thing. You're putting off what needs to be done. Some of the other types would never do that. The 7 or the 8 would never do that. The 1 wouldn't do that. If it needs to be done, let's get on with it. That's that kind of thing in those types. But for the 9, they're going to hang back. They might do other if there's something very important that's pressing that needs to be done, they might just put that off a bit longer and a bit longer. This is procrastination. And usually, as I say, even 9s can think of that as a bad thing and something they've got to work on to put right. David White says this, and with this I shall end this session. What looks from the outside like our delay, our lack of commitment, even our laziness, may have more to do with a slow, necessary ripening through time, and the central struggle with the realities of any endeavour to which we have set our minds. Procrastination enables us to taste the single malt essence of our own reluctance. Hope you've enjoyed the session. See you next time.